This is a really cool piece of Switchblade history that a gracious follower offered to me for a very good price, and it is in absolutely amazing condition, better than any of the other ones I've been able to find online. And there is virtually no information about this knife online. It's got a button here that you pull back to fire the knife, but it's got a really, really weird mechanism as far as how it actually fires the blade and the lock mechanism. It is actually a deadbolt style lock. You've got a lock bar down here that slides up onto the shelf on the tang to lock it in the open and the closed position. And it's got a traditional kick spring, a leaf style kick spring in here, but it doesn't actually load the spring the way a knife normally does. And it's really cool that virtually the only information I can find on this is this one terrible picture of a book called Switchblades Exposed. You can just barely read this pic that the guy who sold me the knife actually sent. He found this on one of the old school forums. But one thing it does have is a really cool x-ray view that I've taken the liberty of sketching in and detailing a little bit of the mechanism. And so the kick spring is actually attached to that lock bar and moves down with it. And when the blade is rolled around down here in the closed position, the kick spring is nestled up into this big cutout, sits right about here. And as you pull this down, the spring travels up that ramp on the blade and actually starts to load the spring further as you draw the lock bar back. And then once it gets to a certain point, the spring is loaded and it clears this step on the tang here, and the blade can be flung open. It actually says, the leaf kick spring is pinned to the back spring, blah, blah, blah. The button is attached to the back spring. When the button is slid towards the bottom of the handle in the closed position, the back spring and attached kick spring assembly moves together at the same time. When the top end of the back spring moves into the middle of the curve on the tang front, the blade unlocks and can rotate and be thrown open by the kick spring. And there's a secondary coil spring down here that you can just barely make out on the x-ray. And that's what's actually providing your lock bar tension to lock the blade in the open and closed position. The only markings on it, and that's one thing, if you don't do it with a firm, deliberate action, it will misfire, are Solingen Cutlery Company, Germany, and DBGM Springer. DBGM just basically means it was made in West Germany post-war. These are dated in this book, 1955, and very rare. The only other one I could find for sale online, the guy who sold me this one sent me a link to it. They wanted a lot of money for it, and the blade didn't even lock closed quite perfectly. It had quite a bit of blade peak. Yeah, this thing is just mind-blowing. It's wraparound one-piece liner construction, what would be considered an integral these days. It's got a plastic backspacer there so that your blade's not smacking into a metal backspacer. See if I can get a little bit of light in here to show you guys exactly what's going on. You can kind of make out, you can see the spring nestled up into that cutout in the blade. Your lock bar with the attached button is right there. And then you can see, oop, come on, back on. Oh, really? Is my light going to be stupid? There we go. You can see right there the end of the lock bar and the cam section of the tang riding on the cam section. And then when it gets to a certain point, it can slide all the way up and lock, wedging that lock bar in between the step of the blade and the folded spine of the handle. Really, really early deadbolt lock mechanism that, at least from what I can find, is the earliest one that I've seen. It's very reminiscent of Blackie Collins's deadbolt lock mechanism and the Hawk dog mechanism, and even Jerry Busey's new folder mechanism that has a thumb stud on a lock bar similar to this in a one-piece handle. Also very similar to the Demko RAM-safe lock mechanism on the Pocket Bushman, except with that you don't have a thumb stud here. The lock bar extends all the way down, and you've got a lanyard loop to pull and release the lock. Yeah, this thing it in theory like influenced so many other designs, but I don't know if anybody ever actually saw this thing because. Like the article says, it's very rare. It's got a really weird closing action too. Once you get to about there, the spring is starting to shift up and nest into that cutout, and so the spring tension basically goes away when you get to right about there, and then it just kind of closes in. If you just barely pull it back, it totally misfires. But if you pull it with a firm, quick motion, it allows that spring to preload before the blade starts moving, and then it fires it out with a really nice action. It's not oversprung, but it feels like it's not going to like tear itself apart, but still open when you want it to. Yeah, I'm rambling at this point. I'm still trying to find any information that I can about this. The one old Switchblade guy that I know, Bill DeShivs, I sent him a question about this, and he has one. It's really cool, but he knows basically the same amount of information. Speaking of, if anybody ever sees the Switchblades Exposed book for sale for a reasonable price, I would love to get a copy. That would be amazing. But yeah, this thing is super cool. It's super weird. The action is not like any other side opener I can think of. It almost seems like a dual action out the front in the way that the spring is loaded during the firing motion, and then at some point the blade is allowed to fling open. Really, really cool piece. I'm so glad that my follower reached out to me and asked if I wanted to purchase it, because I doubt I would ever have seen another one of these. I wouldn't even know this existed. And that's what makes this hobby so freaking cool, is every day I'm coming across something new that I didn't know existed and now have to hunt down, or something I didn't know existed and now have for the collection. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this look at this post-war German Springer. Just a really, really neat piece of Switchblade history. Hope everyone has a good evening, and I will catch you all tomorrow.